So you want to learn slide guitar, but you don't want to mess around with open tunings. That's where I've been the past couple weeks. Understandably, most resources that I found on slide guitar online focus on open tunings, because how else are you supposed to get those nice, full sounding chords? It just makes more sense. Anyways, for a couple years now, I've been very much inspired by someone who may be the king of slide players, Derek Trucks. And from hearing him, I was very much inspired to get that sort of slidey, emotive aspect to my lead playing, but I really don't have much of an interest in the chords. I don't have much of an interest in traditional sounds that might be associated with the slide. I just want the solos. I want the melodies. And there are a lot of resources that cover sliding and standard tuning, but they weren't exactly what I was looking for. So I've written out a bunch of easy slide lines, and each focuses on a different aspect of technique. So if you're completely new to slide playing like I was a few months ago, here's a couple things that you'll want to keep in mind before you start. Pick a guitar that has higher to medium action. You're not going to have a good time if your strings are just barely touching the frets. Technique-wise, to get the notes intonated correctly, you don't want to play in the middle of the fret. Instead, you want to play right on the bar. So the first fret is actually where the first fret is, so is the second, and so on. This is probably the most confusing part about learning slide playing, but it gets easy fairly quick. Next, you're going to want to make sure that you're not pressing too hard when playing. And you don't really need to press at all because by design, slides very easily coax out sound from your instrument. Although you're going to want to actively make sure that you're not hearing the sound of your slide dragging across the frets, kind of like this. Lastly, skip the pick. And I myself primarily play with the pick. I really tried to start playing slide with the pick, but the amount of muting that you have to do with your right hand, it just doesn't make sense. And if you're new to slide guitar, you're already out of your element with that slide on your finger, so you might as well get your finger picking strong as well. So let's get into it. The first exercise is traveling across an octave. Without a slide, you can travel across an octave fairly easily. Although with the slide, to get that clean movement across the neck, you need to do some muting work with your right hand. It's not just about playing the note, but it's about only playing the notes that you intend to play so that you don't get that muddy sound. So first you're going to want to start with this shape to get a handle on it, but once you get more comfortable playing this octave, you can move up to this larger shape that encompasses all 3 octaves. So this second shape has the arpeggio right up front, and then that sliding melody on the B string. The trick is actively muting the arpeggio with your right hand, otherwise it comes out sounding like this. So be sure to use your thumb, your index, and your ring finger to ensure that there's no sounds being played that you don't want the audience to hear. This third riff, yet again, it's about muting. Hopefully you're seeing by now that much of the technical aspects of sliding is just about eliminating unwanted noise from your other strings, essentially shifting focus between muting with your thumb on the D string and muting with your ring or index finger, whichever feels more natural, on the G string. Now this fourth line is more of an exercise in precision rather than muting. We're going to be focusing on playing on the high E string, but you can also do this across the lower octaves as should be on screen right now. I chose the high E string because it's a little trickier to play slide up there, but the frets are closer together, which should help you out a little bit. Now our main focus is intonation, so remember, you want to play right on the frets rather than between them. Now slide playing can often be a wild, jumbled, slidey mess, and it can sound great that way when it's done intentionally. Otherwise, it can kind of sound like an unintonated nightmare. The trick here is you want the listener to actually understand which note you are intending to hit by intonating it properly and by staying there for just long enough that the note is discernible from the others. So here's how you don't play it. And here's how it should sound. Now this last one is a bit of a bonus, because one thing that you take for granted when you start playing slide is the ease and simplicity of a quick bluesy bend. It's kind of an essential for blues playing, or bluesy playing in general, and it's not easy to get that seamless phrasing with a slide. So with this riff you have a lead in which goes into a half step up, a half step back down, and then a whole step down. And it gives you that kind of bluesy slide bending effect. And this is supposed to be a very melodic and expressive movement. So you don't just want to focus on hitting the notes, but also using the momentum of the slide to get that quick snap. As a final note, I'm not much of a blues player. I stayed away from slide for quite a while because it was one of those techniques and one of those sorts of skills that I always only associated with blues and country and bluegrass genres. But the more I've been playing it, the more I've been able to find creative ways to apply it to my genres of choice, like metal, alternative, experimental, fusion. So when you approach these, and when you approach sliding overall, try not to get locked in that box. Figure out some creative things you can do with these, and hopefully after you get the technical aspects locked down, it'll fit into your improv like nothing else. So that's pretty much it for me. If you enjoyed this tutorial, hit like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Have a good one.